As we learned in our presentation on Egyptian hieroglyphics, we now know that Egyptians used something called cartouches to highlight a particular Egyptian's name or someone of significance. In fact, a cartouche played a significant role in the deciphering of the Rosetta Stone, as Jean-Francois Champollion was able to match the names of Ramses in a cartouche on the Rosetta Stone. So we're going to go and create our own digital cartouche using our own name. Now, I've created a file for you. Hopefully you've already downloaded it. This file here, which is called cartouche_name. It's a Photoshop file that we're going to use. And I also have here, which is another file that I hopefully you downloaded, which is basically just some student examples of cartouches that they've done before. I would like you to take a look at those before you start to make yours. So I want to take a look at this file here, Photoshop. We're going to go ahead and use this file. I've created a template for you to be able to go in and create your cartouche, so you don't have to create all of your artwork. But we're going to color this in, and then we're going to add your name to this cartouche. If you take a look, I have a simulated kind of stone background, and then I've got this outline, this rounded rectangular outline, which you would normally see in a cartouche. I want to pull up my layers to show you that these two elements of this file are in two different layers. I have my background layer, which has the simulated stone, and then I have the top layer, which has the outline of the cartouche. Now, before we go and start to add our name, we're going to go ahead and start to color this in. And I'm going to go ahead and choose a color in my foreground color palette. Maybe I'll go with a blue. And maybe I'll pick this blue here. And then I'll take my brush. And then I want to have a hard edge to my brush. And let's see. Yeah, this is probably a good size. So now I'm going to go in and I want to make sure that I'm in the bottom layer. And basically I just want to go in and I kind of want to color the background. Now if you want to leave your background that sandstone looking color, that's fine too. I thought you might want to have a little bit of fun with this and go ahead and color in your background. And then I think I want to add maybe some other tonal values. So I'm going to go with, let's see, maybe a lighter blue. And then I want to go and bring down the hardness of my brush and just kind of add some maybe wisps of light blue, just to give it just kind of a different tonal value, just kind of change it up a little bit like this. Alright. Now what I want to do is I want the inside of the cartouche to be a different color than the outside. So I'll go in and choose another color. I think I'm going to go with maybe a gold this time. So go right about here into my color picker. I'll select OK. Only I want a hard edge. So I'll go back to my brush, bring my hardness back up to 100, and a little bit of a smaller brush now so I can be more precise with my coloring. So I'll go in. Oops, that's too big. Okay, so I'll go in. And remember, I'm coloring in the background layer, so the outline of the cartouche is not going to get filled in with color. I'm coloring behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and color this in. And done. Now I want to color in the outline of the cartouche. So I need to make sure that I select the layer that I want to work in, which in this case is going to be layer 2. And I want to color this in. Now if I try to color in this piece of artwork here, I'm never going to get it exact, and some of the color might run off the edge or bleed off. So I want to use a technique by selecting just the pixels in this layer. Sometimes we can use the magic wand, which allows you to select pixels of the same color. And I can go here and click the pixels. And in most cases it'll work pretty well. But I want to be absolutely sure that I have every pixel selected. So I'm not going to use the magic wand this time. I'm actually going to use another technique down in my layers window. If I hover over the little thumbnail, every layer has a little thumbnail showing you what's on that layer. If I hover over the thumbnail and then I hold down the control key and click, it brings up the dialog box that lets me select pixels. So I'll go to select pixels, and what that does, it selects all of the pixels in that one layer. So now I know that I have every pixel selected. And remember, whenever you make a selection in Photoshop, you can only work in that selection. You can't work outside of it, nothing will show. But you can only work inside the selection. So I'm going to use that to my advantage right now. So by having only the pixels I want selected, I'm going to work inside that selection. So I'm going to go and choose a color. I think I'm going to go with maybe a purple this time. Right about there, maybe a little bit more purplish. Let's go right about there. So now I'll take my brush tool and I'm going to go in and just paint. You see, it's only allowing me to paint inside the selection. So I want to go in and I want to select all this, move this out of the way, and select all this, make sure I haven't missed anything, and I will color this in. Now, before I deselect, I want to use a special effect brush and maybe add some texture to this. So I'm going to go up to my little pull down menu for my brush here. And if I click this little gear, there are all sorts of different brushes that I can load. Here are my standard brushes that come as soon as I open Photoshop. But I will also have access to all these other different kinds of brushes. So for example, I can go with a I can go with a special effect brush. Let's see what that does. Okay, that gives me these little different patterns and designs. So for example, if I pick this little starburst, now I can go in and kind of use these. I think I'm going to make the brush size a little bit larger. So I can go in and use these as a pattern. And all I'm doing, just clicking and dragging and painting just like I would with any other brush. I can go and choose a different one. I can choose this little flower icon. Again, make the brush larger. And I can go in and fill that in if I want. So go and do this. I can choose another color and go in and kind of do the same thing. I can also go back and choose, say, another set of brushes if I want. Let's go down here, see what these are. And I've got these little special effect brushes here. I've got this little starburst. Let's see what that does. Actually, I think I'm going to use a different ink first. Let's go here and choose yellow. Okay, and that gives me kind of this textured feel that I can go and use here as well. And then if I want to go back and reset my brushes to the defaults, I can go back to the pull down menu, click the little gear, and go back to reset brushes, and that will, and then hit OK, and that will restore my brushes back to the original factory settings that come with as a default in Photoshop. So I'm going to deselect. Now I can deselect one of two ways. I can just click a selection tool and click outside the selection, or I can hit the letter D. Either one will let you select, will let you deselect.